Wine stood stiffly in front of the principal's desk, her fingers nervously clutching the strap of her worn-out school bag. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the ceiling fan above and the occasional scratch of the principal's pen as he reviewed a file. Her heart thudded softly inside her chest, already knowing what this conversation was about. Principal Han looked up from his paperwork, adjusting his glasses with a slight frown of concern. His voice was firm yet not unguided. Wyatt, your tuition fee for this month still has not been paid. This is the third remainder. She immediately straightened up, blinking rapidly to compose herself. Oh, I know, sir. I am really sorry. I promise I will pay it soon. Actually, my mother was admitted to the hospital last week. We have been struggling a little financially because of the medical bills. Her voice wavered just a little at the end, but she kept her chin high, determined not to sound rude. The principal leaned back slightly in his chair, studying her. His stern expression softened for a moment. I see, I understand, but should I call your father? Maybe he can sort out this quickly. At that, her eyes widened and she quickly shook her head. No, no, sir, please don't call him. I'll handle it myself. I promise, just I need a little more time. There was a pause, a silence that stretched just long enough to feel heavy before he finally sighed and set the file aside. All right, I'll give you a 1 week extension. Make sure it's cleared by then. Wine. Her shoulders instantly relaxed with relief. She bowed her head slightly grateful. Thank you so much, sir. Really, thank you. Without another word, she turned and quietly left the room. As she walked down the empty corridor, the echo of her footsteps, the only sound, she exhaled deeply. Her pace was slow, thoughtful. Behind her brave front was a tired girl, shouldering more than her age should carry. But still, she kept walking with determination in her step. After her last lecture ended, Vine didn't waste a second. She quietly slipped out of the college gates, blending into the crowd of students, her tired feet dragging toward the restaurant where she worked evenings as a waitress. It wasn't much, just a modest, old fashioned coffee place tucked between two stores, but it was enough to help her survive. The sky was already blushing orange with the setting sun casting a soft hue over the dusty roads. By the time she arrived, the clock was ticking close to 5 p.m. She headed straight to the small changing room in the back, slipping out of her college uniform and into the plain black waitress dress, tying the white knot. She adjusted her hair into a low bun, checked her reflection briefly, and stepped out onto the floor to begin her shift. Her body moved on muscle memory, clearing tables, scribbling orders, pouring coffee. Tiredness clung to her like a second skin, but she kept her smile intact for every customer. It wasn't just about the job, it was about survival. Every one counted. She was at the coffee station, carefully frothing milk for an order when the entrance bell rang with a soft ding. Instinctively, she looked toward the door and froze. Her heart dropped to her stomach. There he was, John Jungkook. The infamous name echoed in her mind like a warning. The ruthless, cold-hearted mafia hire. Every man in the city feared him. Every woman whispered about him, and yet he was also her husband. He entered like a storm cloaked in sadness, dressed in an all black tailored suit that sculpted his broad frame. His guards tailored closely behind, followed by a sharply dressed woman, his secretary heels clacking against the tiled floor. The restaurant's soft murmur turned mute. Time stilled. White could hardly breathe. He walked in with quiet authority, his presence magnetic and suffocating. Without sparing a glance at anyone else, he made his way to the corner table, the one he always chose, and sat down, legs crossed, hands resting on the table like he owned the air around him. Wine's throat tightened, her hands trembled slightly as she wiped her palms on her apron and forced herself to walk toward him. She approached slowly, her eyes lowered. What would you like to have, sir? Jungkook didn't answer right away. He just stared at her with that piercing gaze, icy, unreadable, the corners of his mouth stern. A cappuccino extra hot. He paused, his voice like velvet laced with warning. And make sure you serve it. Wine gave a stiff note, barely hiding the way her fingers shook. Yes, sir. She bowed politely and rushed back to the counter, her heart pounding violently against her ribs. Behind her, the secretary watched with furrowed brows, clearly puzzled. Why did the most feared man in the city come to this cheap restaurant so often? Why did he always order coffee? Why did he insist she serve it? No one knew the answer, but he did, because no matter how many times Chungu claimed he despised her job, claimed he didn't care, he came back again and again for her, for the warmth only her hands could pour into that cup. Because he loved the taste of the coffee his wife made. But he would never admit it out loud. He hated gold diggers, he had told her that the day they got married, and because of that, one never once asked him for money, not even when her mother fell seriously ill. Not even when the hospital bills began piling up, not even when her faith gave up halfway through her shift. She would rather suffer than be called a beggar. The truth, she had taken a loan from the restaurant manager, a quiet deal. She would repay it by working here, cutting her salary each month to chip away at the debt, all while trying to keep up with her college, juggling work, grief, and dignity alone. Jungkook had asked before, coldly, suspiciously, why she still worked here. She never told him she didn't want pity. Tonight, as usual, he stayed seated long after his cup had gone empty. The secretary eventually left after placing a few guards around and whispering something to Jungkook before walking out, but he waited. Because he always did, it wasn't about coffee anymore. By the time the clock struck 8 p.m., Wine finally emerged from the back room, changed out of her uniform, her shoulders sagging with exhaustion. Her eyes scanned the restaurant, and there he was, still there, waiting for her like a shadow that never left. Without a word, he stood up and walked past the guards, holding the car keys loosely in one hand. She followed quietly, sliding into the passenger seat. He didn't speak, he just started the engine and drove into the night, the soft hum of the car filling the silence between them. A strange silence, not uncomfortable but loaded, with everything unspoken because he never said, I'm proud of you, and she never said, I'm hurting, but somehow both knew. It had been nearly 3 months since that night, the night Jungkook silently waited outside the restaurant, drove her home, and never asked why she looked so worn out. And now, after 8 long months of working at the little coffee shop, Wine found herself once again clenching her apron in her fists as she stood in front of the manager's desk in the back storage room. The manager, Mr. Choi, looked unusually stiff today. His fingers tapped restlessly on the dusty counter as he avoided her eyes. Something felt off. Wine, it's been 8 months since you started working here. She gave a polite note, unsure where this was heading. Yes, sir, he sighed, looking more troubled than stern. Honestly, I don't think I made the best deal that day. She blinked, confused. Sir, I agreed to deduct your debt from your month's salary, but now I need all the money at once. Her eyes widened as if the floor just slipped from under her. What? But you promised you said I could repay it slowly. How can you change it now? My daughter, she met with an accident yesterday. The hospital bills are overwhelming. I need cash wine. I'm sorry, but I can't wait anymore. Her legs faltered, heart racing. How was she supposed to arrange such a huge amount now? Her hands began trembling involuntarily, and she nervously rubbed her fingers together. That's when she felt it. Something cool and solid brushing against her skin. A ring. She glanced down, her eyes resting on the shimmering diamond wedding ring Jungkook had slipped onto her finger the day they married. A cold memory flashed across her mind. He hadn't said a word that day, just placed the ring on her finger with a blank expression. Back then, there had been no warmth. But now he loved her. He didn't say it often, but she felt it. Every time he waited for her shift to end, every time he watched her from the corner seat, silent and protective, still, the depth hung heavy, her mind spun. What do I do? This ring, it's not just gold and stone, it's my wedding memory, but I can't see my mother's pain grow either. She took a shaky breath, then looked up at the manager. Please, can you give me just 2 more days? I'll figure something out. But the manager shook his head. I'm sorry, Wine, I really am, but I need the money now. You can call your relatives, maybe. I don't have any. Her voice cracked slightly, her lips trembling as she reached for the ring. With hesitation in every movement, she began to slide it off her finger. Please don't cry. She held the ring between her fingers, about to place it in the manager's palm, when suddenly a strong palm catch her wrist. She gasped, eyes staring upward. It was Jungkook. His jaw was clenched, his brows drawn together in frustration as he stood protectively behind her. What are you doing? She froze. I didn't know what else to do. I heard everything. Her eyes widened in horror. She didn't even hear him either. The amount is 2 million won. Without a second thought, Jungkook reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a thick bundle of cash, slamming it onto the desk with a heavy thud. The manager flinched at the sound as Jungkook's voice dropped into something darker. Take it and don't you dare ask her for anything again. He didn't wait for a response. Instead, he grabbed Wine's wrist and pulled her out of the room. The restaurant workers and customers stared in stern silence as he marched her straight outside toward the waiting car. The door slammed shut behind them the moment the engine purred to life. The silence between them was heavier than any lecture. Why didn't you ask me? His voice wasn't just angry, it was hurt. His hands tightened on the steering wheel, jaw clenched as he stared ahead. Wine sat with her head lowered, nervously fidgeting with her fingers again. Because you said you hate gold diggers, I didn't want to be one of them. That's why I thought giving my wedding ring would be better. She paused, her voice barely audible. It was my mess. I didn't mean want to burden you. He hit the brakes at a red light, turning to her sharply. You're my wife. Why the hell would I ever think that about you, huh? She blinked in surprise, eyes stinging. I said I hate girls who chase after money, girls who can sell themselves just for gold and status. You are nothing like them, Wine, and it really disappoints me that you never shared this with me. What am I to you then? Someone unworthy of your trust? No, Jungkook, it's not like that. I didn't want to burden you. Her voice cracked as she looked at him desperately. Before she could say more, he pulled the car into a quiet street and suddenly leaned over, wrapping his arms tightly around her waist, pulling her gently onto his lap. You are not a burden, you are my love, my life. Don't ever say something like that again. His voice broke into a whisper near her ear, and she felt her throat tighten. Now tell me, do you need anything else? She gave a tiny nod, lips trembling. I still have to pay my college fees, and I took that loan because of mom's surgery. I'm sorry, Cook, I hide everything. He tilted her chin up gently, looking at her with a mixture of scolding and warmth. Really did mess up, she blinked nervously. What do you mean? I'm only going to talk to you again under one condition. What condition? She asked, breath hitching a mischievous smile tucked at his lips. Kiss me. Her face turned crimson instantly, heart pounding wildly. What? Seriously? But he only raised a brow and leaned back smugly. Flustered and half laughing, half panicking, she covered her face with her hands, then leaned in slowly. Closing her eyes, she pressed a soft, trembling kiss to his lips, one that held every ounce of emotion she would kept bottled up for months. And just like that, the word outside, the car faded away, the storm passed for a moment. All that remained was the silence between two hearts learning how to trust.